The Ryan Goodman and Tanguay podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hey, folks, once again, it is time for the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay Along for the Ride podcast. And we've got a great show lined up today because we are talking about the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, the Celtics are not in it, but we will be discussing some Celtics nonetheless. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. And right now at FanDuel, new customers can get the no-sweat first bet of up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Okay, Bob Ryan, we'll start with you. And I'm going to toss this softball up to you. I fully expected Denver to be up 2-0. I thought this series would go 5 at the most, but the Heat just have that never say die attitude, man. And I don't think they're going to win the series, but for them to get a home win in Denver, I thought was a big deal. Or a road win in Denver was a big deal.
I agree with you. I think Denver will win. I do want them to win with that. And although I don't have anything really against Miami at all, it's just a matter I'm rooting for the city to get a championship after 47 years of membership in the NBA and going 0 for ABA as well. Okay.
You also love Jokic, and you have for years.
Of course, I love Jokic. Oh, I do. Of course, I do. You're absolutely right. So, the more we see of the Heat, the more you have to respect them, and that's it. It's that simple. And they don't compute necessarily technically to be as good as they are, but they possess the qualities that we talk about that we wish the Celtics had demonstrated. Away from the talent, the ones that here and in here, and they have got all of that, and I admire them. So I think I think it's going to be a fun series, at least 6. I still think Denver will prevail, but I won't be shocked. I won't, and I don't care that they were the 8th seed or the 7th seed or the 118th seed or 5th seed. This is the format we've got. We know they weren't really an 8th seed, and once they got rolling, and so who cares? That's not going to be the big issue with me. So I'll just say as an aside, where did this going to the basket come from Duncan Robinson? So all of a sudden it's like he just discovered a new toy.
Yeah.
I'd love to have the numbers, wouldn't you, Jeff and Gary? Wouldn't you love to have the numbers of how many baskets he scored inside 20 feet this year, let alone layups? And,
we're back in the bubble. Back in the bubble, it was all threes. I mean, that's all he did.
Anyway, but what he's saying is subtly to, I am a basketball player. I'm not just a freak.
Right.
Who can shoot threes. And I like that. And of course, I'm proprietary towards him because of the Williams background and my friendship with Dick Quinn, the SID there. And the whole story is so wonderful. And the New Hampshire the whole thing. He's a guy I want to root for. Okay.
Yeah, the pride of Newcastle. And he was huge in that fourth quarter. And again, they have to have that. They've got to have 3 of the 4 guys named Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, or Caleb Martin. They need 3 of those 4 to impact the game to have a chance to win, and they got that. The only one who didn't was Caleb Martin. Everybody else played well of those 4. Jimmy Butler is going to be good, but I think people put too much on Jimmy. Jimmy's obviously the alpha dog there, but it's got to be the others. Otherwise, they have no shot. So I love this group because, like you said, in so many ways, they're the opposite of the Celtics. They're chipping their shoulder, lunch pail guys who were told they weren't good enough when the Celtics guys have had their asses kissed, a lot of them, since they were young. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown being the primary 2, right? Everybody's how good they were. They were highly ranked at a young age. They've been given things. Now they had to earn some of them, certainly, but not like these Miami guys did. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Even Spo, listen, people question. I remember I did early on. All right, Spo can't coach.
Everybody did.
Figurehead early.
Everybody did, Jeff. It was skepticism rampant.
Pat Riley puppet.
Yep. So
LeBron puppet.
But when you were saying, I during the Celtics series, I was thinking if you take the numbers of draft picks to where they came and do the Celtics had a 1 and a 6, and what number was Brown? 3? And
Yeah,
yeah,
agree.
so their three marquee players. It adds up to 12. 1, 3, and 6. 10. I mean, 1, 3, and then their two marquee players add up to 30, 14, and excuse me, 44, 13, and 30. 14 and 30. Bam was 14, and
Right.
and Jimmy was 30, and then it goes from there. I mean, it is really a study in contrast about the team development, player development, and I got to come back. I know people in Boston don't want to hear it, but you got to give. It starts with Riley. If you're going to go with the fish rods from the head, then we're going to go with the opposite here. This whole thing stems from Riley. It's just who now in his 28th year with the franchise. Hard to believe, isn't it? You still think of him as a Laker.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and a little bit of the Knicks, and yet
As you're a kid
came in
these days, Bob,
1995.
right? Kids these days don't even think of Pat Riley with they don't even know he ever did anything with they think of him as, again, just a GM figure.
Yeah.
Never a coach.
I mean, so what a career when you go back to it all the way back.
What I saw though with this Miami team is what the Celtics didn't have. Is that if you're down, you're taking on water, just get a 2, just get a basket, stop and run. That's all they do. Just stop and run. Miami, just stop and run. Just get a basket, get it to Bam, just stop and run. The Celtics are back there throwing up threes and just basically.
You know what it is? Hey, here's the easy part to kind of figure it out. Miami has elite shooters who shoot a lot of threes. Duncan Robinson and Max Strus, they're elite shooters. So I have no problem if they're launching threes. The Celtics have average shooters shooting a ton of threes. That's the difference. If you're going to build your system around shooting 40 threes a game, or whatever the number is, I don't know what the feels like, it's 40 every game, then you better have elite shooters. And that's why, to me, I would love to see the Celtics trade for an elite shooter or draft an elite shooter. I don't know who that, the best shooter in this draft is in my opinion, is Grady Dick out of Kansas. They're not going to get him at 35, but you got to get elite shooters if you're going to play this way.
Very good point. Very good point. And they can obscure that when they have their really hot game. Every once in a while, they're going to have a tremendously hot game.
Yes,
They're going to make 23s or so. But you're right. They're absolutely right. And Gary, you're right. I've been screaming this. I don't care how many times I say it. I'm going to keep saying it. The Warriors drove me nuts in 16. The game when they lost. All they had to do was do exactly what you're saying, Gary. Stop the bleeding. Go to the basket. Get it. Just see it go in. All they did was heave threes for the last 4 minutes of that game, setting it up so Kyrie could beat them. And in the end, and that's nothing's changed. Everybody, for the most part, people play the same way now. This is the curse of the three. It is completely changed and the way the game is conceived.
Well, in some ways, it's hurt the game. There's no question. I mean, I think people love the excitement, but when you're taking a look at strategy, I mean, Miami just kept it simple, man. We need a basket. So, Jeff, I'll ask you, what does Miami have to do to win this series looking forward?
I mean, protect your home court, right? But that's easy, right? You could say protect your home court all you want. To me, I think it's about making enough shots, making enough threes, keep it. Duncan Robinson and Max Strus have to stay hot here. They really do. Because Miami's going to fight and they're going to defend and they're going to get enough out of Bam and Jimmy. But again, if those guys aren't making threes, they can dig down and double on Jimmy. They can. And if they're not making if they're making threes, you can't do that. You can't do that with him. So I think it's those guys as much as anything. Again, Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin have been really good for the most part in the postseason as well. They just, the beauty of Miami is they almost don't know who to focus on other than Jimmy because they don't have a dude. They don't have a guy. With Boston, you got to slow down Tatum and Brown. With Miami, it's all right, yeah, you can slow down Jimmy. But those other guys are capable. We've seen it now. Caleb Martin going for 20. Gabe Vincent going for 20. Bam can do it. Strus and Duncan can do it. They've got enough guys that can pick it up that, again, I think you got to take it to them if you're Denver and come out and play harder, match their intensity because Miami's going to have it, man, in game 3. They're going to have it.
One other thing I want to add from Miami is I get increased appreciation of Bam. The more I see him, the more I like him as a basketball player. His passing ability is understated, and
Yep.
he's
He's a good team guy.
and he's their only semblance of physicality. He's the only one they got. I mean, God knows it's not Cody Zeller necessarily. There's nobody that he is. He really is the one lone quality big. Big, and he's not that big as a big. He's 6'9", right? And
6'9" and thin, like not built like, he's not built like Capella or somebody like that. But that's the beauty of Bam. Like, people want more out of him offensively. It's probably never going to be him. He's just a really good overall player. He's a good number 2 guy, maybe even really a 3, because again, you don't really want to throw it down to him. He's almost better facing up than he is catching. He is better at facing
Well, of course, in the normal course of things, he is the 3 because Hero's there. Right. And right now he's the 2 by default. He has
good point.
But ordinarily he is. He's well suited as that. Speaking of which, interesting to see when and if he comes back. How dependent they get, or how good he can be, or I think how quick a hook, I guess what I'm trying to say, he might get from Spoelstra if it's evident that he doesn't look just right.
Yeah, so, I would honestly, if they can split, like, I don't think I'd bring him back. Maybe limited minutes, I would see. But honestly, you got to just evaluate him in practice. And like, what are you able to do in practice? How do you look? Are you really? I mean, there's got to be so much rust on that kid. I don't worry about him as much mentally, because I think Tyler Hero's got that swagger. But can he guard anybody at this point? Like, you just got to be careful throwing him out there right now in a pivotal game. Because to me, you win these 2 at home, which I don't think they're going to do. But even if you split, let's say you split these 2, which is probably more likely. All right, you're in the series. Like, then it's a 3-game series. And if you're Miami, you take that any day of the week right now.
We're going to take a break here from Bob and Jeff to tell you. Well, I don't need to tell you. You already know. I'm just going to remind you here. Make a fast break to FanDuel for the NBA Finals. Because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet of up to $1,000. That's $1,000. You get $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. The app is so safe and secure. Plus, you get paid instantly with it. They have great promotions on it every day. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book, FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston and get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with the Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Los Angeles. Gambling Helpline ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Visit www.mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York 467369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in West Virginia or Wyoming, and visit www.1800gambler.net. That's in West Virginia. So it's 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming, or visit www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia. Now let's get back to the show.
No, and they're not afraid of anything. They won't be deterred in any way. You may beat them, but you're not going to intimidate them. And so no, it's an interesting series. And by the way, surprisingly, the ratings weren't bad. I'm very gratified because I was worried it was going to be a disaster, and but I don't see how it's going to go down if it remains competitive. So that's good. I'm just I'm happy about that.
Bob, what do you think the key is for Denver?
Uh, there's a guy that I don't trust at the moment in a sense of I don't know how reliable he is. That sometimes is quite important to them, and I know Jeff's going to perk his ears up when I say it. And that's Michael Porter Jr. He's become a variable, kind of an X factor. Your two big guys you don't have to worry about. And so that's for sure. But he, for them to have maximized, Porter's got to be better than he's been, and lately, and that's all. But Jokic, nothing changes with him. Although I'll say this, it is interesting, and I'm not. It occurred to me, and I guess the numbers are there. He had 41 points in the last game, but he only had 3 assists. And it's a pick your poison thing, in terms of how you play him and what you want him to do. I think Miami will take that anytime. You go ahead, get your 40, as long as you're not having 10 or 12 or 14 assists and making everybody else better.
Right.
Although I hate that phrase, maximizing the potential of everybody else. Just go as an aside, I'm jumping. I don't know who was the first person of whom that they said he makes everybody better. I think it may have been Bill Russell, by the way. And that caught on. That's a bunch of, you don't make people better. You just give people an opportunity to be good, to be as good as they can be. You don't make them better. Anyway, I hate that phrase. Now,
make it easier. I would say you make it easier.
Yeah, I'm back off the soapbox. So that's it. What do you think about that, Jeff? The idea that they would prefer he goes 41 points and 3 assists than 26-14.
Because otherwise he's just picking them apart. Like that's the thing. He can still get what he wants, and then you're giving everybody kind of their confidence. You're giving them open shots. Those guys have proven, especially Murray and Porter, they can make them, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So yeah, I kind of agree with it, and I just think you need to make you can't just let him dictate what he wants.
Yeah,
in the game, and I think that's what you do. To be honest, if you're not trying to like switch it up with him, at least make him have to think about it and make decisions. And I think that's what they did there is like, all right, we're gonna switch it up and we're gonna let you get yours, but we're not letting everybody else get open looks.
Oh, by the way, I learned something. I always like to say you learn something every day. I truly believe that, and everybody everywhere, even if most people don't realize it, but I think you do. Anyway, what a factoid that got dropped on my head the other night during the game 2. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has played in more NBA games in the last 10 years than anybody, period.
Wow.
They were talking about his durability. Not to mention he's on his 407th team. I know that, but the still, Jeff Green's on his 1,000th team. Yeah. But no, how about that? Wow. Who would have thought?
No, I didn't know that at all. Like I
don't know whether it was Jackson or Van Gundy had the handy prep stat at hand, but one of them dropped that on us.
All right, guys, let's change gears now to the Celtics. Brad came out, said nothing to see here, but what else is he going to say at this point?
Hey, he said a whole lot of nothing is what he said.
Okay, so it's a whole lot of nothing. So the coach is staying. Sam Cassell, they brought him in. Your thoughts on the coaching situation, Jeff, and with Sam joining the bench?
We've talked about this with Mazzulla. I just feel like, number one, you can give him another year. Like, I think he deserves another year. He's still got him pretty damn close to the NBA Finals, as close as you could get. I like Cassell. I don't know Cassell that well, but what I will say is they needed somebody with a profile of Sam Cassell. Former NBA player, outspoken, will hopefully push back on some of these guys and they'll listen to him a little bit. You need that. You got to have at least one of those because Mazzulla's not that. It'll be interesting to see the rest of his staff because obviously we knew a bunch of these guys were Ime guys. They were going to go with Ime.
Sam was a tough-minded player, actually, the kind of player that we just talked about with the Heat today. And Sam Cassell is one of those guys my friends, that come along every once and very seldom do you see it, very once in a while. And that is, he was a first-year player who was never a rookie, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Never a rookie on the floor. There was never ever anything but veteran poise in him. McHale was like that. He was never a rookie, and there aren't many about whom you can say that. Sam was one of them. He got
a
my
lot of
attention.
shit to him. He had a
got
lot
my
of shit to
attention.
him as a player.
Oh boy,
Right.
very quickly, and he Maine Brit Central Institute, by the way, New England connection.
MCI.
Yeah,
Even
well,
better.
yeah.
Even better. He played with arguably my favorite college basketball player of all time in the backcourt. You remember who that was, Bob?
Oh, come on. No, tell me.
Bobby Sura.
Oh, Bobby Sura. Okay. I remember. Really, I
Loved Bobby Sura. Loved him. And they had some shit to him. So I do like the Cassell hire. I want to see how the rest of the staff plays out at this point. And you just wonder how much is going to be Mazzulla and how much is just Brad bringing him people at this point.
Well, yeah. And I think that, well, Brad should have some input on this, considering the way things went last year.
But I want Mazzulla to have one guy on his staff that he picks that's loyal to him too, that he knows. I don't want it to be a bunch of just hodgepodge guys that Mazzulla has no relationship, no connection. Yeah. I do think, like, I don't know who it is, but, you know, I would love to see somebody. And again, it's going to be hard because I don't know who Mazzulla's guys are over the years. He was at Fairmont State 5 years ago, played at West Virginia.
Right.
So we'll see who he can get.
What kind of network he has, I have no idea. Yeah.
Right.
You know, and he's still too young to have a network in a sense, but you're right. I agree with you with that. You definitely need somebody like that. Well,
is Sam a backup plan?
Is who?
Sam?
Is Sam a backup plan? If Mazzulla doesn't work out, does Sam get the gig?
Probably. Like, I would say this. I think if Mazzulla gets off to, if they're 500 in January, then I could see a move being made. Now, I don't think they're going to be 500 in January, but like if Mazzulla gets off to a rough start, yes, I could see them making a move and Sam Cassell takes over on an interim basis. Wouldn't shock me at all.
So do we have any idea if there's any market for Grant Williams in terms of whether somebody else out there loves him, make the Google eyes at him? You know, I could see someone.
He is what he is, though. Bob, he is what he is.
Well,
like,
guys like that are overvalued here.
Well, I think guys like that, again, are, if you're a championship caliber team, is Grant Williams really going to be the missing piece for you? Like, he's a good piece. He's a second unit guy, is what Grant really is. He's an eighth man who, again, the key for Grant is how much did he hurt? Like, I love Grant, but again, Grant's got to know who he is, what he is, and I mean that more with his mouth than anything else.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
hey,
I find it frustrating when he starts.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I'm like, dude, you don't have any credibility here.
Right.
You're not a star in this league who has earned that right. And I think that Boston is infamous in all sports for raising these role players up, because we love them, and making them better than they are.
Yep.
I
would agree. I mean, again, I think Grant, you'd like to keep him if you can. The guys that are going to, again, I was talking to Chris Forsberg the other night, and he thinks they're going to move on from one of the guards. He thinks it's going to be Malcolm Brogdon, which sucks to me because I really like Brogdon.
I like him too. I'd rather see him move. To me, I'd rather keep Brogdon than Smart, but that's not what they're going to do.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the big question about it, which of course is Jaylen Brown, in terms of the fact that, yes, it's a year away.
Right.
Likely. But are you going to, is this impending, I will dare say, ludicrous max contract issue, which should never even be, not even be an issue, shouldn't even exist. The reason he's eligible is just so infuriating to me that it's just, I can't deal with it. But anyway, is it going to be brushed aside? We should go back and just, be able to play basketball and not worry.
I'll tell you, it's not going to happen.
Get in the way.
It's not going to
give him the max. What's he going to complain about? I mean, you're going to probably give him the Supermax, you're probably going to give it to him because you have no choice in some respects. I think it's ludicrous too, and then you're probably going to have to roll the dice this year and run it back. And you could easily justify running it back and making a couple minor moves, right? Pritchard's going to be gone. Maybe, again, maybe you move a Grant Williams or Brogdon, and your depth is different, right? Your 7, 8, 9 are different than they were. But the one that still worries me, guys, is Robert Williams. He still worries me.
Right.
Just because I think, obviously from availability standpoint, you can't really throw the ball into him ever. Like you can lob it to him, but you can't really throw it to him. He's great defensively when he's healthy, but he's never really healthy. You're not paying him crazy money, but I just feel like, again, like you're so limited because they don't utilize him well. Other than Marcus Smart, nobody ever throws a lob to Robert Williams. Nobody. So to me, if you're not going to run the court, like he's such a – people talked about what a great passer he is. I never see that from him anymore. Never. So what is he doing in the offensive end? It's like nothing other than, again, he's a threat to catch a lob, I guess, so that helps. But I don't know. I feel like if they can move Robert Williams, and they probably missed their window because now, again, how many teams are going to give you a lot for Robert Williams?
Right.
Maybe not a ton.
Right.
But
maybe
somebody's out there.
He had the P word, potential, when he was hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And now that we've seen that his potential is not what we thought it was, you're right. I want to get back to Jaylen Brown, though, guys. I'm sorry, and I may be barking up the wrong tree, but I don't think this ownership is going to make him a rich man. I've heard this ownership is not happy with what happened. I don't know if he's getting that cash. I really don't.
It'll be up to the owners.
I don't know, Bob, if you've heard anything. I haven't heard anything. The owners were pretty pissed, and I don't know if they're going to hand over that money. I mean, listen, the Celtic ownership, I don't think they're cheap by any stretch. Believe me, they invest in this team, okay? But they're not the Golden State Warriors, when it comes to just going over the cap and spending and paying all kinds of penalties, right? So I don't think the Jaylen Brown thing is a done deal. I don't know how it's going to end, but I don't think it's a done deal by any stretch.
My simple mathematical question is how feasible is it to have two max, to be the first team with two maxes?
Yeah.
And taking up that disproportionate percentage of your payroll with two people.
You just can't
How
do
can you
it.
do that?
I don't know. I mean, okay, well, let's play it out. So say you don't give him the money he wants. What happens? You let him fly? Will you try to match with what he gets? You trade him? I mean, to me, all of those options have
the problem is you can't – isn't there something where you can't trade him within a year, something of signing the Supermax?
You got to wait. Like if you re-sign him, don't you?
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Well, who's gonna trade for him? We've been through this. Who is going to trade for him before he signs the Supermax?
I mean, you got to have
him walk in a year.
Right. You got to have a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I mean, that's
Atlanta. Like what? And Atlanta just doesn't have enough. As I said, if Atlanta still had Kevin Huerter, and you told me I could get DeAndre Hunter, this is what 2 years ago I said I would have done. DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter, and 2 unprotected first rounders. All right, let's go. Let's go. Because I really think DeAndre Hunter won't give you the same offensive input as Jaylen Brown, but he can give you 17, and he's a better defender. And then you add Huerter, who could shoot the shit out of it, and a couple first-round picks. Absolutely. I'm doing that trade.
My prediction on Brown is he ends up staying just for less money. That's it.
Maybe.
I think that, and it's not a Supermax. It's not a crazy, but I think that's because I don't think he's going to have offers anywhere else that are going to break the bank.
Well, we just don't. This is the great in Pondos. We don't know what's in the heads of other people. Whether there's that one guy out there, the standard line in all sports. It only takes one, right, for a free agent to be overpaid. It only takes one, in general. I don't care what sport we're talking about. And so maybe there's one out there, maybe there isn't. I don't know. We don't know what the rest of the league really thinks of him. I don't think. We don't know. And now I asked you about one other guy before we, close up on the Celtics now, because what about Al? Al's how much left is there left of Al?
Well, he's got less money too. Remember, he's got a new contract that's far less money. So you can deal with Al now. But the key for Al is Rob. Like if Robert Williams isn't healthy and not able to play, 60 games in the playoffs and give you 20. I mean, Robert Williams needs to be playing 25, maybe 28 minutes a game. Yeah. I mean, he should be giving you 28 minutes a game. So Horford's giving you a max of 20 right now. And Horford's on the books for 10 million and then 9.5 the next 2 years. That's fine if he's playing 15, 20 minutes a game and giving you what he gives you in terms of leadership and intangibles. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about Rob.
All right, guys, to wrap it up, just some thoughts on Kyrie is trying to woo LeBron to Dallas. Is this the land of the delusional?
Probably.
Well, just in terms of how they would even affect the deal and whether, it is. I mean, what I saw is that it's what's possible is the other way around more than rather than LeBron going to Dallas, it's Dallas dumping Kyrie out to LA. But I just laugh, Kyrie. I guess it's good to have him around and give us something to talk about. But the other part of me is so tired of him already and everything, and people, how many more teams are going to think that he's going to be their answer?
It's over. It's over. It's over. It has to be over. It has to be over.
And it's such a sad story in terms of the basketball side of it, in that, you can't overstate how good he can be and has been at his peak, and what a fantastic offensive player he can be and has been at times. But
that's the sad part. That's the sad part. But if you're LeBron, listen, I'm not saying LeBron's going to Dallas, but I'm saying if you're LeBron, do you roll the dice because you don't have enough as presently constituted in LA? Do you roll the dice on Kyrie that you can control, that you're the one guy? Now, again, Kyrie didn't like being his little brother years ago. That's why he left for Boston. But now, in a way, I think he realized I can't be the number one guy. Like I can't be the number one guy. I tried that in Boston. Then I was the number two guy in Brooklyn. Maybe he's come to grips with, I need an alpha dog. I need a better player.
Where he is now, he's not, because he's got Doncic.
Right.
And so,
right.
I mean, he had one with the Nets.
Oh, he's played with. I mean, think about who he's played with. He's played with some of the best players.
I know.
He played with Tatum when he was young. That was early with Tatum.
None of it worked. None of it worked.
None of it. It's been a disaster.
He's going to be more remembered for all the off the court stuff.
Yeah.
And all the disruption and all the stories and the tales and that he will be for the basketball player that he has been. And that's
sad.
Just, of course, I don't feel too sorry for him. I think, I don't think he's going to have to go on the welfare office anytime soon. But, but this is him. He just doesn't get it.
He can't get out of his own way.
Right.
That's the best way.
I continue to say he's searching for something in life and he doesn't know what it is. I don't know how else to put it.
And we're going to close on that great philosophical note from the wise one, Robert Ryan. Gentlemen, always a pleasure. This edition of the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay Along for the Ride podcast has been brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is ready for the NBA Finals. New customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Gentlemen, until next week.
All right, we will have a champion maybe. Who knows?
CLNS Media's Celtics coverage is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win.